If you spend any time online looking at LinkedIn or YouTube, you'll see that there's no shortage of videos telling you the top tools that you need to use or the best tool for data enrichment. And I'm a little bit guilty of sharing some of that content as well. But what I feel that there is a gap in the market at the moment in that education piece is, how do you actually approach list building? And that's what I plan to solve in this video. I'm going to cover 3 different list building approaches with real examples that I've prepared. So I'm not really going to focus on the actual tool itself, but in some cases the tool is quite important, but there'll be different examples for the different approaches. And what really underpins all of this is that your list is usually more important than your message. So if you send the right message to the wrong people, then you're just not going to get replies. Or if you're calling the right people with the wrong message, they're not going to book a call with your SDR team or with yourself. So the 3 different approaches I want to walk through when it comes to list building is, the first is a company first approach, the second is a contact first, and the third is a real-time approach to list building. So what do we mean by company first? Well, this essentially starts with filtered companies, and then you add the relevant contacts. So you need to build a list of companies first. And you typically use this when your campaign is driven by either funding, hiring, a technology that they use, or firmographics of the types of accounts that you can sell to. So I've got some examples here. So we've got recently raised Series A and B and hiring and marketing. This might be that you are a marketing agency, or maybe you are selling software that helps marketing teams. And when a company is hiring in their marketing, especially for specific roles, they're more likely to look to invest in that channel or in that department. So you can use Apollo, Crunchbase, Ocean, Firmable, ZoomInfo, any big database, you can use it. But let me just show you what that looks like in Apollo. So recently raised Series A and B in hiring and marketing. So to build my company list, I would first go into a company search, and then I would look for companies in the United States. Again, I'm just using these geographies as examples. The funding stage is Series A and Series B. And then I've got quite a broad match for currently hiring for marketing. Now I can see now that I've got 225 companies here. Now these 225 companies, I might need to do some additional segmentation. Maybe it's B2B rather than B2C. But once I've got that list, we can see that I can send a very specific message to the heads of marketing, the chief marketing officers at these companies, based on the fact that I've built a list so segmented. And this campaign would be one of many campaigns that I would be running, depending on what it is that I'm selling and who I'm selling to. So that's a simple example of building a list of companies, and then I'd need to go and find the people within those companies, which you can actually do quite easily in Apollo. You can also do that in Ocean and in ZoomInfo as well, and many of the other B2B databases. The next one might be companies using Salesforce, but they do not have an enablement team. So a lot of databases will show you which companies are using a particular technology, but you need to go through enrichment to find out which ones do not have an enablement team. So in this case, I'm going to use 2 tools. One is Ocean, the second one is Clay. Now Ocean here, I've built a list. I've got companies which are 200 to 5,000. They are headquartered in the United States, and they are using Salesforce. So now I can see that there's 540 companies here, which I would then need to select all and then export. And I'd export them to a CSV, then upload them into Clay. And then once I have that data in Clay, I'm going to run an enrichment called find employee headcount by criteria. So I'm looking for people, and this, if I remind myself, with no enablement team. So if I go back into Clay, and then I can see that I'm using the LinkedIn company profile, which I got from the Ocean download. And then the job title keywords, sales enablement. Now I probably would want to put different variations of sales enablement in here, just to make sure that I capture the companies that don't have somebody who is helping support the team, the sales team. But what you can see here is, if I look at my list, let me just close this for a second, I can see that Comply Advantage do not have a sales enablement team, but Modular do. And the great thing about this particular type of enrichment in Clay is, if it can't find that headcount or that person with the job title, then I'm actually refunded my credits. As you can see, I've run out of credits this month already, but I would pay for the company that the result that comes back to say they do have a sales enablement team. Now, depending on what I'm selling, I might be selling a software that plugs into the Salesforce CRM and it surfaces up sales enablement assets, let's say. So when I'm writing my messaging for that particular service software, my message is going to be slightly different to the company that doesn't have a sales enablement person versus to the head of sales development enablement or the person in the sales enablement team. So here you can see that my one list and my criteria has potentially built out two different sequences or two different campaigns, one that do have sales enablement and one that do not have sales enablement. Okay, so those are just two examples of company first. I want to move on to contact first now. So these workflows typically start with the personas or the job titles, and then you validate the company fit. Or in some cases, again, depending on what software or solution that you're selling, you might be able to work with particular job titles in any industry. You could have a very horizontal ideal client list. So you want to use this when you're solving a specific problem or pain, or running very high volume outbound to a large total addressable market. This is where you might use a contact first. You may also use contact first if you are organizing breakfast events in London, or you're organizing a networking event in New York, for example. This is where you could also use a contact first campaign. So the first example is e-commerce founders in London. So here you could use LinkedIn, Apollo, ZoomInfo, any of the big databases. Ocean is great for e-commerce content. So let's have a look at this. So I haven't actually built this one, but what I do know is if I look for people and I put in the job title of founder. Now, what I also like about Ocean is that I get all these different variations. So founder, co-founder, founder and CEO. Ooh, didn't click that. Founder and CEO, co-founder, CEO. So it gives me these really good variations here. Usually the first 10 are perfect. So what was my criteria? So e-commerce founders in London. So let's go back here. Now I want to make sure that I've got 10,000 people. That's too many people to come to my event that I'm making up, that I'm organizing. So I'm going to do headquarter location, London. And I just want all of London. Oh, this is annoying. There we go. So now I've got still 10,000 plus founders in London. So now I want to find e-commerce. So what I'm going to actually scroll down and do is look at more filters, and I think they should have profile description, job experience. I can use these filters to then look for e-commerce. Now, obviously e-commerce is spelled in a few different ways, but just to keep this simple, I'm going to click here. And I can see I've got 444 people. Let me just see a different, see if this works. Yeah, see, there's a big divide in whether you spell it with a hyphen or not. But here now I can see that I've got founders who have e-commerce in their title. Now, obviously there might be some marketing agencies that support e-commerce and it's the founder of that marketing agency. So there might be other things that I need to look at now. Like I said here is if we look at we want to start with the persona or job title and then validate the company fit. And again, one of the reasons that I like Ocean for this is that if I go back here, I've got these filters and I'm looking for e-commerce and e-commerce, a different variation of a keyword. I've got everything else correct here and I can just simply click to companies now. It's going to keep the job titles and it's found 1,175 companies, but there is a tab here for a filter for e-commerce. So this is find companies that have been detected to have e-commerce functionality on their website. So again, if a company has a checkout for a ebook, a paid webinar, whatever it may be, the fact that they have a checkout there will mean that they'll show up in this list. So sometimes it's always worth doing an additional level of enrichment. But if I go to people now, I can feel pretty confident that these 332 people are all CEOs and founders of e-commerce brands. So you can click through here, have a look. And then also you can export this data and run them through your outbound campaign. So that was one example of contact first. Now let's say we want to find HR leaders involved in employee experience in London. Again, just examples for the purpose of this video. You can use LinkedIn for free without Sales Navigator. You've also got Apollo, ZoomInfo, Ocean, Cognizant, big databases. You can use them. I'm trying to keep databases which some are affordable, some are a little bit more mid-market and enterprise, but you can do this in the majority of the databases. But I'm going to show you how to do this real quick in LinkedIn. So what I've searched for here is keyword, first of all, is employee experience. I've put this in speech marks, which means that it's looking for an exact match. It has to say employee experience next to each other, just like Leanne has here in her profile. If I didn't do this, it would search for these two keywords separately. So I'd pull up anybody that mentions employee and anybody that mentions experiences. So this is also known as Boolean searches. It's word for Google, very quick to learn. But now I'm just looking for employee experience in one phrase. Now, one of the great things about the free filters on LinkedIn is that if I scroll down here, I can actually put in the titles, and the titles that I want to target for this made up campaign is head of employee experience, heads of people, or HR directors, or people ops leaders, different variations of these job titles. And I would encourage you to put in as many variations as you can, or as you can fit into some of the search filters. Another thing that I might want to do as well is filter the locations by United Kingdom. And now I have my results here. So if you're on the free plan of LinkedIn, you are going to be limited to how many profiles you can actually see. But there are a number of tools that allow you to essentially export or extract this list from LinkedIn. I won't mention what those are now, but feel free to reach out to me at mark@yellowo.co.uk and I can share those with you. But now I've built a list of head of employee experience, head of employee experience, head of employee experience. Let me just flick to the 7th page, see if we've got some different job titles here. Global Head of Internal Comms at Ocado, Head of Employee Experience, Communications, David, I used to work there. Head of Employee Experience, So we can see that we've got a pretty accurate list of heads of employee experience or head of people involved in employee experience. I can't really say that keyword too much more. So let's say that you had a software that integrated with various different collaboration and communication tools that did internal rewards and point system to help people, give props to people who have helped, and then also give people a way to incentivize good behavior within your company. It may not matter what industry or what vertical your clients are in at the moment, but knowing the target audience or the context you need to reach out to are HR leaders who are involved in employee experience might be enough for your particular campaign to make it successful. So the third approach to list building, I'm trying to keep this as quick as possible, is real time. So this is when you build lists using real activities. So also known as signals, using things like job posts, engagement, or even events or event attendance. And you can use this when you spot a timing opportunity and want to move fast. So some examples of real-time workflows include hiring for revenue operations, but they do not have a current RevOps lead. So we're only looking for companies who are actively hiring revenue operations. And Clay has a really good way to do this, and it's free to build the initial list. So if I just go into Clay here, you can see, I need to move that for a little bit later. You can see that I can run a find job search. I can put the job titles. Again, I'm looking for different variations, RevOps with no space and RevOps with a space, all in exact match terms. And I found 1,838 companies. This is global, so I haven't filtered on geography, but you obviously you can. But there are 1,800 roles at the moment which mention revenue operations, RevOps, revenue ops, RevOps here. Now I just need to click continue, which I did earlier because it sometimes takes a little bit of time. And I've got all of the different job titles here now. And I've got the company name, the job title, location, the company domain, the job posting, when it was posted. So beware that some of these might have been posted in June. So this is over a month and a half ago from when I'm recording this video. But now remember, I want to try and find out those who do not have a current RevOps lead. So I go into Clay and I run my enrichment. And I often talk about Clay for you build your list elsewhere, or if you're using the find jobs, that's a very good use case for Clay. And then you layer in your enrichment on top. So here I'm looking for find employee headcount by criteria. I then want to put in the specific job titles of VP of Revenue Operations or Head of Revenue Operations. Again, multiple variations of this job title I'd want to add in. And then I would continue to add fields. Here it's going to just say how many people have that job title. I'll click save and run. It's not going to let me run it because I have no credits left. I need to top up. So that's how you find companies hiring for RevOps with no current RevOps lead. And as you can imagine, this is a dynamic list. It will be constantly being added to because there are going to be companies in the month of August advertising for RevOps. So you would want to have this running on an ongoing basis and then automatically enroll companies into your sequences based on whether they have a RevOps lead or don't have a RevOps lead. So another great real-time workflow is looking at people who have engaged with a LinkedIn post about a problem that you solve. In my example, I sell to sales leaders. There's so many people creating content about sales and reaching out to their audience of VP of sales, also CEOs. So I see a lot of people in the industry who they on paper would be competitors. We offer competing services and solutions, but I also see them more as influencers. And one great example of this is a gentleman called Jake Dunlap. He runs a brilliant consulting company called Scaled Consulting. They work with more larger organizations. They started off supporting outreach, but they do a lot more now. And Jake is an influencer in the space of sales. He has 86,000 followers. He posts on a very regular basis. I think this was a little bit older, this one, but it's pinned here. And we can see that on his content, he gets 24 likes, 7 comments, 312 likes, 43 comments. There's quite a lot of activity. So using a tool called Triggerfy, I can go and see everybody who engages with Jake's content. And I can also add filters. These are the filters that apply to my ICP. So if I just show you those filters, I have no problem with that. These are the job titles that I could potentially start a conversation with. The location, typically United States, United Kingdom and Ireland, and the company size varies between 50 and 5,000. So now I can see a list of 91 people who have recently engaged with Jake's content, and I can now start a conversation. I can even reference the recent post that Jake mentioned. I don't do that in my outreach, but you can see that I push these leads to HeyReach, which is a tool to automate LinkedIn. So think about not just your competitors, but people who also serve the same audience. You might offer slightly different services, or it might be different software companies as well, or influencers of software companies. For example, if I want to target agency owners, then there are a number of software out there like Monday.com, not so much Workday, but a number of different productivity tools and time tracking tools, which a lot of agencies use. I would want to be shooting fish in that barrel, so I can make sure that I'm reaching out to agency owners who are quote unquote more serious about their business because they're investing in software to help them be more productive and efficient. Okay, next one. Oh, Boomerang is a different option. So Boomerang is a great scraper that allows you to pull lists from different sources like Apollo, like BuiltWith, like LinkedIn. But one of the things that it is great for is pulling out the followers of company pages. So I could take just Jake as an example, Scaled Consulting, look at the company followers. There are going to be 13,000 followers. So 13,000 people have followed Scaled Consulting. They are talking about the future of sales. I am taking the assumption that these people are interested in learning more about the future of sales. And if I sell something which is similar to that, I can then reach out to people. It's a great way for me to, if I think about a bullseye target and we've got the bullseye in the middle, the outer ring, and the inner ring, the outer ring as well. How do I find prospects who are more close to the bullseye target? I would say that people who follow this type of company and many other companies like this, Pavilion would be another example, people that follow these company accounts are more likely to be closer to the bullseye than be on the than missing the bullseye completely. So this is the way that I approach it. Lastly, we've got attended recent LinkedIn lives or attended recent events. So there is a way to pull all of the attendees from LinkedIn events. It's a little bit sneaky, but you essentially need to find a LinkedIn event which matches the criteria. So in this example, I am a marketing automation agency or marketing automation software. Maybe I'm a competitor to HubSpot, competitor to other marketing automation tools. And there was an event called CRM and Marketing Automation Pro Hints and Tips. And now I have all of these people that attended this event. Now, tip here, you have to RSVP as attending in order to see the attendee list, but I've got them here. All of these people attended the event. One thing to keep in mind is one of these people will be the person who hosted it, so just make sure that you remove those from any outreach. Then I would use a tool like Phantom Buster. There is a bit of risk using Phantom Buster because it uses your session cookies. If I'm going to export the LinkedIn event guests just one time, once a month, I'm probably going to be safe. But the general advice is be careful with using automation tools, especially when you're pulling data from LinkedIn, because LinkedIn doesn't like that and they are cracking down on it. So again, this is one way of doing it. There are lots of other ways. Ever have any questions of things that I can't share publicly, just send me an email at mark@yellowo.co.uk. So that would be one way. So that I would then get my whole list of event attendees and then enroll them into a sequence. Lastly, we've got Luma, which is another platform for hosting events. Got a lot, very popular in the last couple of years. Now you can see that the awesome team at Automated RevOps hosted an event. It was back a month ago, and 155 people went. So if I click here, okay, I'm going to register. Even though it went, let me accept. One sec. This should work. Okay, so I've looked at an event here which happened a month ago, and I can see that I've got 155 guests that attended the event. I'm going to be in here as well as the event organizers. Now I can use a tool called Instant Data Scraper, which is now going to pull out the names, and this is the Luma profile. So if I was to click on Marcus, it will show me his profile. I've got his Twitter, his LinkedIn, and his website, as well as this information as well. So this is great. This is a complete profile for Marcus. Other people won't have a complete profile. But again, using Clay. So build your list outside of Clay and then bring it into Clay for enrichment. I would then paste in that information. Oh, sorry, I think it opened up in a modal. Instant Data Scraper allows you to structure the data on a page and give it to you in a table, essentially. So if I look back here, if I go back 1 second, when I say structured data, this is an image, this is a name, image, name, image, name. Under every name, there is a link. So this link up here is also part of that structured data. Now, what I can do is take it into Clay, paste in the name, paste in the Luma profile, and then use a AI lookup to find the people. So this is where it's important. Assume the role of a LinkedIn profile finder for attendees, locate the LinkedIn profile. Now, I know when I did this particular example in this Clay table, the people were in marketing. So I actually gave it a prompt to say, if you find more than one John Smith, then look for those that are that have marketing in their titles and are likely to be connected to one of these profiles. So using Marcus and David over at Automated RevOps, I would say, are they connected to David and Marcus? Because there's a high likelihood that if they're connected to David and Marcus and they're attending this event, it's the right prospect. I would then enroll those people into a particular sequence. So, wow, 25 minutes in. Those are 3 different examples. We've got the company first, the contact first, and then also the real-time signals. So how do you choose your workflow? Well, think about what is the campaign based on? Do you have specific criteria such as company demographics or firmographics, or are there signals and triggers? You might want to build a company first list. Do you know who owns the pain, and is that pain applicable no matter what industry or vertical that you sell to? Then you might want to do a contact first. Also, if you're organizing events or inviting specific job titles to webinars, in-person meetings, contact first. And then ask yourself, did you spot live activity, or does live activity happen over and over again? Then you might want to approach real-time workflows for when it comes to building your list. So I think the important thing to take away from here is, whilst I did name a number of different tools, you can see that you can actually use quite a few different databases to build these different lists. The key here really is thinking about why am I building a list? What is it that I want to say? And then how can I craft a list which is so specific that I know that my message is going to resonate and land with the prospects who receive it, which will increase the likelihood of my replies, or the calls going well, asking the right questions about the challenges, and then booking meetings for the AE or for yourself if you're a full cycle sales rep or a founder. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this, let me know. I love creating content about list building and tools. So yeah, happy to help. If you have any questions, feel free to find out more about me at yellowo.co.uk. Peace.